Welcome, everyone. This is the Status Town Hall number 85. I'm Eduardo, Marketing Manager at Status, and this is our agenda for today. We'll talk a little bit about Status Community's feature designs. We want to show a very nice proof of concept of decentralized Gnosis Safe using Waku. We'll talk about the events and community that we have been working on the last month. We'll talk about social media. We also want to show a pretty good news about Nimbus as the third most used if2 node. Alec will talk a little bit about metrics, and then Jacobs will talk about our infrastructure updates. So first thing I would like to talk about today is about the status communities designs. So one of the things that we will love to share on this town hall is something that we have been working hard for a while. The app has some big changes in the works, and we are calling it status communities. As you all know, we really believe in decentralized, censorship-resistant communication, and that's not an easy task. There's a whole infrastructure that has to be created if you want to really have decentralized and private communication. And I'm glad to say that we are on the right path to achieve this. So this is what we are calling status communities. And imagine being able to join communities or creating our own community with token gated access. Well, you may not have to imagine because many DAOs are already mimicking this functionality using Discord bots or other band-aid solutions. These solutions are a centralized compromise. They work, but they are not really Web3. Now imagine token-gated communities powered by a really censorship-resistant and decentralized solution. Not a Discord bot, but a network of devices enforcing the protocol. We are changing the rules of the game, and here are some of our designs. We are still working on this, but this year will take us further off the helm of imagination into reality, onto your device and into your communities. Stay posted for more updates. We are intending to keeping the public informed about the progress of this. And as always, we are an open source organization building public goods. So feel free to follow us on GitHub and contribute if you can. Now let's talk a little bit about this very nice proof of concept of a decentralized Gnosis safe using Waku. So Waku is a critical part of our infrastructure and of the status application infrastructure. And Waku is a protocol for private and decentralized peer-to-peer communication, and it's maintained by Status and by the community. This technology powers the chat that we have in Status, but that's not the only thing that Waku can be used for. Waku works via a decentralized network of nodes that don't depend on a centralized server, making the network censorship resistant and very hard to take down. Waku is a communication layer for Web3, private, secure, and it runs anywhere. And using the SDKs from Waku Connect, you can easily connect Waku to any application, whether your application runs in a browser, in a mobile, doesn't matter. Imagine creating a real-world alternative for the existing applications, but really making them decentralized and censorship-resistant. Waku helps making this possible. Here I want to show a very nice proof of concept we have. And so we have many use cases for Waku, and a very good use case I'm showing here right now in this video is a proof of concept created by our Bounty Hunter program. And this is making Gnosis Safe really decentralized. Gnosis Safe is a smart contract wallet running on Ethereum that requires a minimum number of people to approve a transaction before it can happen. And Gnosis Safe is a great solution for having multi-sig transactions, and it allows everyone to have greater security over important wallets and transactions. This project integrates Waku and Gnosis Safe for initiating multi-party and multi-signature transactions. When an owner of a safe initiates a safe transaction, the transaction data will be broadcasted via the Waku network with symmetric encryption instead of sending it to the centralized Gnosis transaction history service. The owners who need to confirm the transaction will receive the request via Waku, whether they are online or offline at any time. And feel free to check the GitHub link at the bottom of this slide if you want to have more information about how Waku works and also how this really nice proof of concept of making Gnosis safe decentralized works. Still about Waku, this is not the only use case that Waku can be applied. We have lots of nice use case and examples at the Waku Connect documentation website. So feel free to check out the docs website at the bottom of this slide and start turning your app into a dApp. Next thing we want to talk today on this town hall, it's an update about events and community. So from April 18th to 25th, there will be Dev Connect happening in Amsterdam. Dev Connect is a week-long in-person gathering that will feature independent Ethereum events, each with a unique focus. Startups will be present on Dev Connect, both attending and speaking. Our product owner of network infrastructure, Corey Petty, will be speaking at the Chelling Point at the 20th, and also on TrustX on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, where he will be working as a panelist around education and community, bug bounties and white hats, and also hosting a Waku Connect workshop with other colleagues. Also, still about events and community, I would like to give a big shout to our amazing ambassador community around the world. Today, I would like to highlight meetups from our ambassador Lance from Uganda and Pavesh from India. They've hosted physical meetups with their local communities, showing them the advantage of the Status wallet over traditional wallets and onboarding from 20 to 30 people each over the Status application. So thank you guys for helping us to bring Web3 and self-sovereignty to everyone. Still about ambassadors and community, last month we had 42 completed tasks by ambassadors and 11 were meetups and webinars out of the 42 tasks. So most of the meetups were hosted in African countries and India, and there's a webinar hosted by an American ambassador with 25 attendees. The percentage of the completed task from our brand ambassadors was 59%. We've got 11 ambassador applications in March, and one of them submitted their first task in our weekend board, hosting a meetup in Uganda. We are going to promote the ambassador program more actively through our social channels very soon. Regarding the translation campaign we have, 7 contributors, including open source translators and ambassadors, translated more than 700 words in March, and our new translations since the version 1.18 were applying to version 1.19. According to the translation campaign landing page, we've got 231 translations for Stars React until now. The next item we have in the agenda is talking a little bit about social media updates. And one thing I would like to make a big shout here is that we are posting multiple times a day in our official Twitter account, if status. Our official Twitter account currently has around 150,000 followers, and we like to participate on important discussions about what we believe, as well as engaging with the community and sharing product updates. And it's also very important to mention that our community around the world is doing a great job of maintaining localized versions of our social media, translating our content and also posting content about important local events that happen around the world and are important for status, such as like government censorship and privacy abuse and things like this. So thank you very much to our big community. We are very much stronger with you. And a cool tweet series that we have been working on lately is Ask Status Community, where we aim to get community involvement on important questions surrounding the Web3 space, such as banks making bad use of our personal data and government banning chat apps. So follow us on Twitter to be like on top of this and being able to participate. We also tweet about some other cool things like funny memes and important messages. The next item in our agenda is to talk about Nimbus, a very important project we have. Just to give you some context, Nimbus is a client implementation that strives to be as lightweight as possible in terms of resources used. This allows it to perform very well on embedded systems, resource restricted devices, including Raspberry Pis and mobile devices. So Nimbus can run on the consensus layer of each queue and also on the execution layer of each one. And we are working on the perfect client for a wallet, an ultra-light client that contributes to the network and does not require syncing. The great news we have today is announcing that according to the nodewatch.io website, which monitors the ETH2 nodes adoption, Nimbus is now the third most used ETH2 client around the world. And we are very happy about this. And we consider that it is a great step towards a more inclusive future, considering that Nimbus is a lighter client that exists and it can run on very resource limited machines. Very recently, Stakely.io announced that they choose Nimbus as their consensus client, and they are strongly recommending it. If you want to know more and get involved and contribute about Nimbus, feel free to access the nimbus.team website. We are building Nimbus as a common good with liberal licensing to allow for the widest adoption and deployment of the Ethereum as possible. Now I will just pass the microphone to Alec, which will give us some updates regarding metrics.
Thank you. Nice, amazing stuff, Eduardo. Like always, let's start with app installs. So far this year, we have had almost 533,000 app installs. So basically, a little over 500,000. As you can see on the chart, this is 37% less than the year before, but that's mainly because we are just optimizing cost until we manage to improve the retention. Out of that 500,000, 20% is from Algeria, which is amazing. 12% from Mali, 7% from Brazil. Our short-term goal for now is around 5,500 to 7,000 app installs per day, and this is exactly where we are at. How does it affect the number of Google Play users? We will see on the next slide. So yeah, installed audience, that's the number of people with the app installed on their Android devices. So we are growing slowly and steadily. At the moment, over 605,000 Google Play users keep our app on their devices, and this is the growth we are expecting right now. Let's take a look at the next slide and see where these people come from. So right now, almost 10% comes from Mali, 7.6% from Algeria, 5.3% from Brazil. If we add up all the countries and break them down by continents, over 47% of users come from Africa, a little over 24% from Asia, and over 18% from South America. Let's move to the next slide and see daily active users. So in the last 4 weeks, we have been at 10,000 daily active users, which is also the average for this year so far. Let's go to the next slide and see how that corresponds to peers. So the anomalous increase in peers stopped after our last town hall. Now we are back to 2,500 to 3,000 daily active peers, which is around the average for this year before the so-called anomaly. So that's that. Let's go to the summary on the next slide. And things to remember, over 500,000 app installs so far, over 600,000 Google Play users, around 10,000 daily active users, and 3.6 thousand daily active peers. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Great stuff, Alec. Thank you very much for your updates. The last item we have on our agenda today is passing the microphone over to Jacob to talk about our infrastructure updates. Over to you, Jacob.
Thank you, Eduardo. Hey, people. In some application news, we finally got the next upgrade merged, so that should resolve issues for developers on macOS hosts, which had issues with read-only root that required some manual fixes. That's no longer necessary in the default multi-user setup. In fleets, we got rid of the permont testnet fleet. If you're still running permont testnet nodes, just get rid of them. They're deprecated. We have a new fleet for codex storage nodes, which will be growing soon. We should have some examples of that probably this or next week. I know the work on the deployments of nodes has already started. We have a new entry point for the Kiln testnet. The address is right there. You can use it to, for example, sync from our Kiln node and also compare the functioning of your own. Can I get the next slide? Thank you. We have multiple improvements for monitoring. This includes a lot of new logs for Logstash, because I had to do a bunch of debugging with Elasticsearch and Logstash and a large volume of logs. We have now metrics for both duration and quantity of logs going through Logstash for different filters and inputs and outputs. We also have some limits on cardinality in Cortex. Just in general, for all developers that work on node software that provides metrics to Prometheus, it's a good idea to limit your metrics cardinality. And by cardinality, I mean the number of possible values for a given label. Prometheus is designed for around a few hundred, probably under 100 concrete values. If your labels are essentially infinite values, that's just not going to work, and it's going to kill the Prometheus instance collecting those metrics. I also have a bunch of improvements in terms of alerting, especially the format that we get from Alert Manager for metrics alerts. Next slide. We managed to purchase the waku.org domain, which should soon be used for the Waku network website. That migration should happen probably this week. We have a new website for infrastructure docs, which is hidden behind OAuth, and some improvements for the contacts page. And we also have support for multiple backends on our own SSL proxy, and that should help us with migrating the remaining services to our own SSL proxy, and then in turn hiding that behind our own Office VPN. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Wow, great updates. Thank you, Jacob. Lots of things. So thank you everyone for your updates and also for watching. We are doing better town halls for our communities. So keep posted for the next town hall, which will happen in May 9th. And for more exciting updates and further community participation. Thank you.